All right, so now that the shuttle program has ended, what's next for the future of space exploration? My next guest says the end of this era could be the beginning of something big. Lawrence Krauss is a physicist and professor at Arizona State University, where he studies space and astronomy. But you're joining us from London today. Okay, so you weren't a big fan of the space shuttle program in the first place. You actually wrote an op-ed in The Guardian where you say, quote, if we are going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on human space travel, we need to have a rational plan that can excite the imagination of the next generation of would-be scientists and explorers. The space shuttle did not provide such a plan. You were as blatant and blunt as to say that the shuttle program has been costly, but it's been boring. So what do you want to see in the next phase of space exploration? Or do you see a next phase?
Well, it's a really good question. I think right now, with the current economic climate, to really do serious human space exploration is incredibly expensive. And I don't know whether any party has the gumption. They like to talk the talk, but walking the walk is a little bit different. It's incredibly expensive, and clearly going around 200 miles above the Earth isn't that exciting. So you want to go to the moon or Mars, and you want to do it for, by the way, you want to do it for adventure. The science, the really important science that NASA doesn't involve humans. It's the adventure. People want to see people boldly go where no one has gone before, basically.
So do you think it's better now that there's like the commercial incentive to keep it going, that it will make a difference?
I think it's moved in the right direction. I think what the current administration is doing is right. NASA has shown how to get into near-Earth orbit, and now we've seen that commercial enterprises can get not just cargo, but maybe eventually astronauts up to that big tin can in this boondoggle in the sky called the space station. And I think near-Earth orbit is really for commercial enterprises, except for certain things like communication satellites or defense purposes. But you need the government to go beyond there. I don't think private enterprise, people talk about going to Mars on private spaceships, but it costs so much money. To go to Mars would cost several $100 billion, and I just don't see a business plan that makes it worthwhile. And so I think it's going to be the government, and I suspect what may happen is the same thing that happened in the 1960s. What will drive it won't be science, will be sort of not Cold War, but prestige. If China sends astronauts to the moon, I'm pretty certain we're going to be quickly making sure we have astronauts there as well.
But you do see that there have been some good things that have come from space exploration as we know it?
Oh, yeah, but absolutely. But I think the really good things have come from unmanned space exploration. Frederica, you look great sitting at an anchor's desk, but you're not really meant for space. We're a 100-pound bag of water, and it's much better to send a robot. And I think I'm so excited when I see the Curiosity rover on Mars. Every morning I wake up and look for the photographs it sent, and frankly, I'm more excited by that than if a human was there. Because if a human was there, they'd be taking the pictures. But rovers, the Curiosity is literally sending me the pictures like they had a little iPhone in their tourists. And they're there for 10 years, moving. I find it very romantic to think of them alone there. They don't need food, they don't need music, they don't need companionship, moving along the surface. And so NASA has done incredible science with the Hubble Space Telescope without humans. I think there's no doubt, we have to be honest, that when we send humans into space, 99% of the cost is to get them back alive. And so there's very little money left for science, and I think we do it for adventure. When I was a kid, I stayed home and watched the Apollo moon landings. It excited me. It made me want to be a scientist in some sense. So human space exploration does inspire people, and perhaps that's the reason we should do it. But we shouldn't pretend we're doing it for science.
I spoke earlier with astronaut Leroy Chow, and he said, you know, today is kind of bittersweet as he watches the shuttle Endeavour kind of inch its way through Los Angeles, making its way to the final destination of a museum. And he said bittersweet because, yes, you know, the space program has been very inspirational. You know, he loved being an astronaut, but at the same time, he says, you know, the U.S. being able to fly some of its own astronauts with the Russians is a beautiful new frontier. You know, we're also, you know, seeing others who have taken a commercial or exploratory route on their own. We've been following this daredevil, Felix Baumgartner, as he's planning to leap from the edge of space from, you know, a big helium kind of balloon with this free fall of 120,000 feet. I mean, do you see any real parallels here? Is that the kind of direction that people should be excited about, that people will just take their own personal risks and do things like this?
Well, I think for just beginning to get into space, Virgin Airlines is talking about tourism, where sort of people can go up for a few seconds and vomit up there in space, and then come back down. and this daredevil may do some interesting science if the parachute doesn't open. We'll see how big the crater is. But I think we're seeing other people, like my friend Elon Musk, who's running SpaceX, are actually commercially taking stuff to the space station. And I think it's a new direction, and that's very important. And it gives the U.S. government, I think, time to look and see where can government do things that private industry can't. And I think the grand missions are the kind of thing that only a government can do. And maybe, as you just pointed out, maybe international collaborations, if that could ever happen.
Wow.
The kind of money that it would take to send humans to Mars, several $100 billion, the kind of thing we'd want to share. Whereas, by the way, we can send a rover to Mars for just a little more than it would take to make a movie about sending Bruce Willis to Mars. So there's the difference.
All right, Lawrence Krauss, thanks so much. Making science and exploration a whole lot of fun. We appreciate that. That's why you're a professor, right? All right, joining us from London today.
It's a pleasure.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks so much.